Come in. Do you copy?
Her name's Dina, and he is Joel.
Welcome, y'all. We are here. This is tonight's after show for episode 2 of The Last of Us, which was titled Through the Valley. And boy, did we go through a valley tonight, y'all. What an episode. We were only on the second episode of this season. We have 6 more. But this felt like a finale. And by all accounts, not only am I referring to the Joel situation, which we'll talk about, but obviously the stuff that went down in Jackson, the bloaters, Tommy, cinematic situation that we have going on as far as just the tone and the mood and how big in scale and how emotional this episode was. So we're going to break it all down in this discussion of this episode. Before we do so, do all the YouTube stuff, the likes, the shares. More importantly, we're shooting this live, but obviously you're seeing this in an edited version. Let me know your thoughts about the episode in the comments below. How would you rate this episode? For my video game fans out there, comparing, not one being better, but like, how did this episode capture? Did it recapture the moment that you all felt while playing the game for the first time? Was there something new that you enjoyed? Let's talk about that in the comments. But let's just get right into it. Something that this show, and again, I would love to have this conversation with the video game people that are familiar with it. The nuances of Abby. I'm not sure if this opening scene is in the video game, but again, it's given us that baseline. It's given us that foundation of where Abby's coming from. I think I was watching The Walking Dead prior to when I played the video game for the first time, and the thing that was going through my head while watching this episode and watching Abby's journey in this episode and just the journey we've seen so far, I kept thinking about Rick Grimes, right? And I kept thinking about, like, what if this was Rick in this situation, and Carl and Lori, again, there's a lot of comparisons to Walking Dead and The Last of Us, but I kept thinking about that. What if they switched up the governor's backstory or Negan's backstory, and you had this, or if this was Rick, if this was putting this in a situation, what if this was Carl, right? And Joel killed Rick, and this was Carl that was on this journey, Carl going after someone that killed Rick, Governor, Negan, you name it. And it's putting you in that position of Abby. And obviously we get the big reveal. And this was something I knew about, again, not having played the game, but I knew that Abby lost her father, and that was the doctor was her dad, which is a crazy coincidence how that all shook out. But we open this episode with Abby having this dream, right? Or in this case, a nightmare, the worst day of her life. She reimagined, I'm imagining this is a recurrence, or maybe the closer she got to Joel, she's having this PTSD and having these visions of what happened that day that she found her father's brains on the floor. This has to be something that haunts her. The closer and closer they got to Jackson, the closer and closer she got to Joel, this anger, this hatred, this vengeance is just consuming her. And again, season 1, game 1 was about forgiveness, rebirth, acceptance, trying to move on in this apocalyptic world. Then this will be looked at. Season 2 so far is all about vengeance. We saw Abby's, she's got her friends in the mix. We see what's going to happen with Ellie later in this episode. So this is a story about allowing your vengeance to consume you and to make rash decisions, like we'll talk about later. For my game players out there, let me know if I'm right or wrong in saying this, but I think the show may have been giving us a little bit more nuance to Abby, giving us a little bit earlier on her backstory, getting a sense from the audience of her position, right or wrong. Obviously, we're rooting for Joel, we're rooting for Ellie, but it's putting us in her shoes. Again, my Carl, Rick Grimes situation, switching the audience on its head and trying to make you condone her actions, but makes you understand where she's coming from. Something I do want to mention at this episode that I've been kind of curious about, whole situation with her group. We find out some more information about them later. They've been in Seattle. They've kind of built this bond over time. I don't know if any of them experienced as big of a loss as Abby did. I'm referring to the rest of her, Owens and all those group of people that she's with. If they lost someone that was, a Firefly member, or if it's just like, again, they built this bond, and based on the story that Abby tells later about their leader, who I'm assuming is Isaac, if I'm not mistaken, who's going to be played by Jeffrey Wright, who also played the character or voiced the character in the video game. But they live by this code. So I wonder if they're just following Abby blindly, just to kind of abide by their rules, abide by her vengeance, and they want to support her, or if they lost someone as close or someone important to them just as much as they did, to Abby. I don't think any of them, rest of the crew, lost like a family member. but maybe a mentor or maybe someone that, taught them the ways of the Fireflies when they were younger. So I am curious to know if there is any backstory that's going to come with the group members, in the future to kind of understand why they were so, yeah, let's kill this man that killed your father. Again, setting up this episode, the whole idea of this is it seems like there is a storm coming, but also the snow's kind of calmed down, the ice is kind of melting, and they mention that with the ice melting that they want to patrol to make sure that there isn't any infected that's out there outside the gates that might be defrosting, that might have accumulated. So they're just, checking everything out. But that's kind of the setup of what brings our characters where characters are. Joel at this point is with Dina. They're out doing that patrol, seeing the perimeter, seeing if there is any threats out there that's defrosting from the snow. And Jesse and Ellie going out to do their patrol. So it's all, setting up this thing. But at the same time, we know not only do these characters have to worry about the threats of the infected, but they also have to worry about the humans. And in this case, Abby and her crew. So it's, setting up this kind of collision course of separating our characters and positioning this episode in the way that it does. It's just like one of those situations, like wrong place at the wrong time. We know that Joel and Dina are out patrolling, and it just so happens that Abby doesn't care what's outside. She's trying to figure out a way to get to Jackson, and she just so happens to see with her binoculars 2 people on a horse. And as soon as she saw those 2 people, I immediately knew who it was going to be, and it was almost like it was meant to be. What terrible timing that Joel would just so happen to be in the circumstances. It's just wrong place at the wrong time. I don't want to, and the reason I'm going beat by beat before we get into the real nitty gritty is just an appreciation that I want to point out to the writers. This was a masterful job of building tension, building the suspense. We know as an audience that something's going down. It's building all these pieces. And remind you, we're only in the 2nd episode. And I thought it was just really well put together and really well constructed to build this level of uneasiness and knowing that something's around the corner that's going to change these characters' lives forever. We get a little bit of backstory. This was a spot that Eugene set up. He patrolled with Jesse early on, so they have a bond. In this conversation, and from what I understand, that Eugene wasn't a pivotal character in the video game. He was just kind of mentioned. So the show is definitely taking some creative liberties to expanding on the character. Eugene used to be a Firefly early, like 2010, I think was the date that Jesse said. And we know that because I'm thinking that Eugene had something to do or knew about what Joel did to the doctor, who's Abby's father, but there might be more to it. I mean, he might know. I don't know. There's not too many people that knew about the situation, but that might be something that might play out where Eugene knew what Joel did and he was going to tell someone what Joel did and Joel had to put him down because of that. But the words that Jesse uses to say that he had to put Eugene down, it made it seem like he was bitten and he had to obviously kill him. But hopefully it has a good payoff, because we're talking about Eugene now. They talked about it back-to-back episodes. And again, they're expanding on Eugene character from the game to the show. So I'm hoping there's a big payoff. I'm just very curious about this Eugene character, because it seems to be a level of importance to Eugene, a level of importance of him being a Firefly. And also just going back to the theme of revenge, vengeance, hatred, guilt, regret. This is something that Gale holds over Joel. And we know Joel has a bunch of red on his hands. He has a bunch of blood on his hands. He has a conscience of killing people. So there has to be something that has to tie into thematically through this show of what's going on with Eugene. So effects, this is television, but it feels like I'm watching a movie. I love the designs of the clickers. I love the design of them in the snow. The feeling of anxiety that I had while watching this episode. This is the breaking point here for me, where again, we're building, and now it's just hitting the fan. It's almost like this idea of can't run away. I don't know, it feels like they're running away from the problems, but it's always going to be there, right? Whether it's the humans, whether it's the infected, you can't run away from your pain. You can't run away from things you suppressed over years. And it's literally coming at them, right? The infected is like an allegory or a metaphor of this guilt that these characters are holding, and it's going to continue to chase them, whether it's literally, metaphorically, and it all comes ahead in this episode. At this point, Abby running to this location, this unknown location. She doesn't know if there's infected on the other side. She doesn't know what's on the other side of this fence, but all she knows is it's going to get her away from the infected. And it's just, again, this felt like World War Z, this moment here, y'all, with the fence, her running against the fence, the gate starting to come out. They're reaching to get her. One of the infected's hands are going through the the fence. Man, this was captured so well. Like, I was able to get the effects that the show was intended for while watching it at home, but I would have loved to have seen this or experienced this in a theater just to kind of give them props. I got the feeling they were going for watching it on my television screen, but I just imagine the level of anxiety being in a theater. It would have been amazing. But everyone involved, cinematography, the direction, this was just like excellent. This was top notch. This is why HBO has always been known for television. There's nothing like HBO on a Sunday night. When one of them broke through and they're chasing her, kudos. Well done. But as this is going down, I'm thinking to myself, please don't let her run across Joel. Joel, please look the other way. Joel, please don't save this girl. Wouldn't you know it? And I can, again, just going back to the idea playing this in a video game format, I would imagine if you were the video game player, you're playing as Abby in this scene, and out of nowhere, the hero of the story, or one of the heroes, obviously Joel and Ellie, in this case Joel, comes in and saves the person that is here to kill him. And just thinking about it from a narrative standpoint, how he saved the person that wants nothing but to do just to kill him, to end his life, saving a life, ending a life, like that whole idea of like the circle of life situation. And I love how they set this up too, because Abby has a description of Joel, 6 feet, handsome looking guy. No, she had a description, but she doesn't, one for one, she doesn't know exactly what he looks like. So as they're in this warehouse, I know Dina didn't know what she was doing, but she says, Joel, and obviously they're there looking for Joel. The chances of Joel being there, again, this is just a freaky circumstances, but she says Joel, and immediately she goes from being probably thankful, probably appreciative of someone saving her life. But as soon as Dina says Joel, demon time. You killed my dad. And listen, I want to say this now. I know this show has come with an unfortunate amount of vitriol and hate and just people being unfortunately terrible. I want to give and again, it's hard to acknowledge this because we hate her right now as a character, but I want to acknowledge the acting from Caitlin Devers. In the moment, I was able to recognize the acting talent and understanding the ability of the nuance in Caitlin Devers' performance tonight. The moments of realization, like this being one of them. A little bit later, we'll talk about the hatred we see in her eyes later. But like this moment, like coming to realize this is the guy I've been looking for. This is the guy for the last 5 years that I've been gearing up for. So filled with hate, vengeance. This is the moment. And she played it so well. Again, I know we hate her. I know we hate the character I'm referring to, but I just want to give kudos to Caitlin Devers. Really brought her A game tonight. She said, hey, I have some people. My people are up the hill. Again, talk about acting. Have Bella playing Ellie, the look of realization of not only is your boo thing, your crush out there, but your father is out there, which I don't want to mention. I forgot to mention this earlier. They established early on this episode, Joel, that she wants to go do the patrol with Joel, but he was obviously out with Dina. She tells Jesse that they made amends the night before, which I'm assuming we're going to get that scene at some point to show the conversation, because the last time we saw Joel and Ellie, she walked right past him, but I'm assuming she turned around and the conversation she had with him, we're going to probably see. This episode did not, once we hit a certain point, it didn't let you breathe. It just lets you know, it lets you know that there is trouble, danger in every single corner. And shout out to Tommy, man, getting the people of Jackson. Like, again, I feel like I was watching Braveheart, watching Game of Thrones, watching those epic war movies where, issues about to hit the fan and you feel like you're on the wall with these people. And Tommy, Jackson Hole, no disrespect to the Jackson people. I think their defenses could have been a little bit more tight, whether it was spikes, explosions on the outer rim of when you reach a certain point, or like trip lines on certain points of the fence. It could have been a little bit more, I'm not trying to be mean, but you've had years of building, you're building all these houses inside, but you could have, spent a little of that energy outside and build a little bit better defenses. But the Gail character, she is inside, that's Catherine O'Hare. If Kevin McAllister was a resident of this Jackson town, he definitely would have had the place booby trapped up. Again, kudos to the entire team that brought this episode together. Like, I would imagine when they shot this was probably one of the rough days, the long days to really put this all together and to coordinate the whole situation from a visual effects department to the production to the practical effects. Because man, great job across the board. This will probably go down as one of the best episodes of this series thus far. We have Dina, Joel, Abby, literally, just look at that visual. Abby's behind him. It's just like, Joel, kick her off the horse, man. If you only knew, if you could look in the future. But his mind now is more, he's focused on his family, his home, his, Tommy, Ellie, and all the people that he's grown to love and like and care for, his home. I think him knowing that his town, his people, the people he cared for are under attack might have clouded his judgment in regards to trusting this stranger that he just saved. Because I'm thinking about last week, Joel, talking to Maria, and they were having a conversation about letting people into the town. And he's like, there's a point in time that we have to care for our own. We can't keep letting these people in, these strangers. And I'm going back to just his mindset is like, my family, I need to take care of them. We need to get to them. But then Abby again, and you see Caitlin Devers on the screen now. No, because he's like, we need to go back no matter what. But he's like, no, let's just go to the lounge, regroup. We got our people. They got guns. We can strategize when we get there. And I think number one, if she wasn't there, Joe's going head on to the middle of the war no matter what. But then Abby, the devil on your shoulder. Abby's like, no. Don't worry about that right now. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. And again, if she wasn't there and if he wasn't under this pressure, maybe he would have thought it out more. He was able to convince him to continue to go down that path of his grave, his last moments. So, and if this wasn't already bad, lickers, stalkers, all the different variations, there is a thing that is just as, if not more terrifying. I would say it's probably the most terrifying iteration or variation of the disease infected, and that's a bloater. Again, kudos to HBO, not shortchanging the crew of The Last of Us, giving them the money they need to pull off such a feat of tonight's episode. This reminded me of when Jon Snow, the Battle of the Bastards episode with Ramsey, and when the horses and the army was coming towards them. And my man Tommy is just like, hey, F it. It's either me or you, and I got a family to take care of. But again, him letting loose, letting it all go. Eventually, we see the after facts that he did manage to kill. Because at this point in the episode, I'm thinking, Tommy's about to die, bro. But after Tommy showed a level of leadership, showed a level of care, showed a level of, he leveled up. Like I say, he would his Jon Snow bag. For my game fans out there, I think all of this stuff that we just talked about, that we just broke down, I believe is all new stuff. But I remember Tommy being in the room with Joel. Like Tommy was like, a lot of this stuff played out the same. Like they were split up. He was with Dina, but Tommy ended up finding them. But that did not happen in tonight's episode. So, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think them showing us this level of survival, the level of skills from Tommy, really opens up the idea we're going to lose a big pivotal hero in Joel. We're witnessing, I don't say his replacement, because obviously that's big shoes to fill, but the idea of like, you remove this one big major player being the leader and showing us as the audience that he's very capable of leading his people and defending his people. So I think that's, if what I'm saying is right or wrong, or let me know. But I feel like all this added Tommy stuff, facing a bloater, staying in town, holding down the fort, is to show us as an audience that he's very capable of protecting his own. Now we're approaching the last 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes or so of the episode. Joel, Dina are now in the lion's den. Circumstances weren't so extreme. Maybe Joel's instinct would have been a little bit more present to maybe realize the sense of something's not right. Something's not right. Who are you guys? Why are you in our lounge? Like, why are you in the lounge? What were you doing? How long have you been here? Like, it would have been a little bit more apprehension to Joel just blindly trusting this person. Joel's mind is elsewhere. I think all of his instinctual gut feelings on lack of trusting strangers was kind of sidelined because his main focus was on his family, the people of the town of Jackson. Abby introduces her crew, this is Dina, help him out, take care of him. And the guy on the walkie-talkie is Joel. She hits the switch, man. She goes from being someone that needed saving. She got saved. She's helping Joel and Dina out. At least in their mind, they think that they're helping them out. But that switch from kind of help me, I need your help, to you're about to die. And she's, they got the guns out. They're telling Joel that we're not going to hurt Dina if you listen to our orders. They give a little backstory. They come from Seattle. They used to be Fireflies, but the Fireflies are no longer anymore. Joel made sure of that. Again, full transparency. The big thing I knew about part 2 was that obviously Joel was going to die, but also that the person that Joel killed, the doctor, which happened to be her father. At that point, I think Joel is starting to realize there's a level of acceptance that he realized that there's probably no way out of this, as he even says later, like, are you going to get this over with? As Abby says to him, you're not going to rush this. You're not going to speed up this process that I've been waiting for the last 5 years. And again, y'all, I did not anticipate the show doing this. Oh, and also, by the way, she shoots him in the leg with a shotgun. She is, obviously at this point, she's revealing who they are, where they come from, and why you are here. She looks Joel in the eye, face to face, and like I said, you guys know what happens at this point. Ignore the acting prowess from Caitlin in this episode. We love Joel. It doesn't hurt that we're, I would say for the most part, Pedro's a really likable actor. At least putting that aside for a second and I always try to do this with any movie or show I'm watching. It's just like, all right, put yourself in this character's shoes and seeing the pain in her eyes right now. And obviously, I don't know if we're going to ever see her and her dad have a flashback scene. This is kind of show, how important he was. I mean, you get the sense if she's going through all this trouble to get one guy, there has to be a level of this was her everything. Her father meant everything to her. The club, the golf club off to the side, and she tells him, there's a level of hate and pain and anger that when you kill someone at this level of anger, right? She could have just shot him in the head. She wanted to sit in this. She wanted to live in this. She wanted to really make sure that those 5 years that she's been waiting for this moment was 5 years worth it. And if I'm not mistaken, this is where my video game fans come in and help me with this. I think the whole time in the game, she just hits them with the club over and over. And I think they cut between what we see like they do in this episode. Ellie's making her way. She goes throughout the house. She finds them. But again, I think the game, she's just boom, boom. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. This is an added thing to the show. Abby's punching him. I don't want to step out of line because I haven't played the game. But I just feel like this is almost more personal. But I'm pretty confident because I've seen the cutscene that the show wanted to make this more personal. And again, the show wanted to put us in Abby's shoes. Episode 1, we open the show with Abby. We see her grieving as we find out her father. We open this episode with Abby. And Ellie's screaming, get up, Joel. Get up, get up, get up. And, like I said, my mind went to Glenn, right? Being hit in the head by Lucille. Just popped your eye out. I'm this close to death, but always figures out a way. Joel always finds a way. Not this time. From what I remember, Abby, one more, she just boom, hits him. And it's like the final blow. But a major change in the episode, she shows us why she was cast in this role, because I felt Ellie's pain right there and looking into the helplessness in this moment. Joel, get up, and just nothing she can do. There's nothing she can do. This, to me, I don't want to underplay how people felt when they experienced this moment in the video game, but I'm only speaking to my feelings of seeing this on the screen now and having seen the cutscene from the video game. This is, again, more, to me, this comes off more personal than the video game. Her punching him, but then stabbing him in the neck. Again, I was under the impression they were going to save this mid-season. Hell, I was under the impression they were going to do this is a season finale cliffhanger. Nope. Episode 2, they take out Joel, and the roles have reversed. This 5 years that Abby's been on this path of vengeance and hate and revenge, she now passes that on to Ellie. I'm assuming, that I haven't played the game, but I'm assuming the way that we move the story forward, and they even show this in the trailer with Ellie training and punching and shooting, that trauma has been passed on to someone else. And again, there are certain beats that I know moving forward, but now I'm pretty much in the cold now. I'm pretty much in the dark as far as what to expect. As this episode set up, I'm going to imagine I'm going to meet Isaac, Seattle, learn more about Abby, her crew. Do see the people from Jackson were able to survive the herd. Tommy survived. Maria survived. Jesse, obviously, they take the body of Joel, and Dina's alive, and Ellie's alive. I don't know if there's going to be a big time jump. Like, we got the 5-year time jump between season 1 and season 2. I don't know if we're going to go 6 months later. Hell, a year later. I don't know if there's going to be a big jump, but I'm going to imagine I want to live in these moments with Ellie. I want to see those moments where she's reliving the day that Joel died. I want to see her building herself back up to, I know she's going to go down this path of revenge, but maybe we see a different outcome. Overall thoughts, 10 out of 10. No notes. It did such a great job of capturing the scope and scale of what was going on with the herd and going on with the infected. It captured the scope and scale of tension, suspense, anxiety driven. But then all that stuff is great. But then the emotions that was able to be captured tonight of seeing the death of Joel, even though I knew it was eventually coming, but it's about the execution. Did a really good job of paying out that moment. And from what I know about the game, Joel's death, and obviously how the show did it, the little nuances, the little switches, again, the personal, the beating, Abby punching him, the stabbing in the neck, little changes like that make it more, like I said, more personal. Was a nice touch and a great episode. How does this story handle the absence of Joel? I'm pretty confident that we're going to get flashbacks to kind of fill in the blanks, not only from Joel and Pedro being on the show, but also to fill in the blanks from the 5-year gap from season 1 to season 2. We're going to probably see what they've done throughout the years. We're going to find out about Eugene, obviously, and then obviously the 5-year flashback for Abby in Seattle and Isaac. As far as the narrative moving forward, the present storyline, how does the show handle the absence of a character like Joel? You know, Tommy coming in as a leader, Ellie being on this path of vengeance. What does that mean for Dina? So on and so forth. So as we put a conclusion to the breakdown, leave your thoughts in the comments. Consider liking the video. Consider subscribing to the channel. And I'll see you all next week.